Hey guys, T-Glizzy here, and today we're going to be discussing the community backlash towards the Root of Nightmares raid. So there are a lot of people that are actually bashing this raid, and we're going to be discussing this, basically the community's thoughts. I'm going to be putting it all together in one, giving you guys a little bit of my feelings for the raid, and then also what the community's feeling, and I'm going to be putting that all together and discussing it with all of you today. So if you do go on to enjoy this Destiny 2 video, please be sure to let me know by smashing that thumbs up button, but without further ado, let's dive straight into it. So recently I got my first clear through the Root of Nightmares raid, and then I went back and did it 2 more times to help out 2 other teams get the clear, and I wanted to just know the raid completely from beginning to end and see how the raid really felt, because I only like raiding really during contest mode. I feel like when it's in normal mode and there's no master mode available, just raids just aren't fun. They're a little too easy. So these are the points that I want to talk about today. So the first point that people are discussing and they're having an issue with the Root of Nightmares is the boss health for each of the bosses. So there are 2 total bosses in the raid. So we have the second to last boss, and then we have the final boss, which is Nazareth, and each of these bosses has a very small health pool. If we look back to the previous day 1 raids such as King's Fall, or if we look at Vow of the Disciple, we had War Priest and Caretaker as our damage checks, and they were extremely challenging. Again, I don't like damage checks because it seems like it's just RNG. You're just praying that you have ammo for the next run, but it does focus on your builds and making sure everybody understands what's going on. It seems like that wasn't something that was happening here. It was just tell everybody to throw on a rocket launcher and then I'll use a Gallahorn so that we can all get Wolfpack rounds. It was just too basic. The encounters, it reminded me a lot of a dungeon, so the mechanics were just dungeon mechanics. They weren't intense. If we look back again to previous raids like Last Wish, these were intense mechanics. Like, everybody had to know what was going on. Seems like we're going back to the old days of Destiny 1, where basically only one person needs to know what's going on and the rest can just ad clear. That's what we did through this entire raid. We had 2 people run the mechanics and then 4 players on ad clear. Again, a huge issue. You want to have everybody interacting with the raid so that everybody's having fun and everybody's enjoying what they're doing. If you're just ad clearing through the entire raid, seems like you're just basically getting carried by someone at the end of the day. So World First was completed in under 2 hours, or not under 2 hours, I'm sorry. It took a little over 2 hours for the World's First to actually be completed. If we look back to Vow of the Disciple, it took the first team to complete Vow around 7 hours to do this. So this again just basically comes back to the raid being too short and the bosses being too weak. So our first example that the raid is too easy is from a team that was actually able to clear Nazareth with 6 Rat Kings. So they were using 6 Rat Kings and they were able to do enough damage to actually kill Nazareth, which is just something that's hugely wrong with a contest modifier being active. Shouldn't be able to complete the raid with Rat King on contest mode. I mean, if we go back to the previous raids, this was something that we've never seen before. I mean, you wouldn't even be able to get past the damage check for Caretaker or War Priest using a meme loadout like this. Also, if we go take a look at the emblem trackers, we can actually see how many players completed each raid. So we take a look at Stone Crypt, which I'm pretty sure had like the most amount of completions. I could be wrong about that. Had 27,000 people complete Stone Crypt on day 1, which is pretty good. That's insane. I feel like that's a comfortable number to be in. We go back to King's Fall, we had 16,000 players complete King's Fall. If we go back to Volta Glass, we have 15,000 players complete Volta Glass. If we go all the way back to the hardest of the hardest raids like Crown of Sorrow, also we have Last Wish, we have Garden of Salvation. Garden of Salvation had 545 people completed on day 1. We had Crown of Sorrow with 516, and then Last Wish with only 12 players actually completing the entire raid, which is just absolutely insane. I feel like when you get back to those older raids, we don't want those numbers. That's just not enough people actually being able to complete day 1, and it makes it just something that you don't want to do. If you're not able to do it and only 500 players can do it, it's just something that's just not feasible. I feel like the comfortable range is around where Stone Crypt was, with 27,000 players actually being able to complete the raid. It was a really challenging raid, but it was super satisfying when you completed each encounter. Right now, we just past the 24-hour threshold mark, and we already have 100,000 players that have completed Root of Nightmares. This is insane. This is over 17,000 teams which have completed this entire raid. Again, does that not sound like the raid is too easy? So I don't want to sound like an elitist who just wants to seclude players out of actually getting into this in-game piece of content, but I feel like it should be a challenge still. It's a contest. This is basically comparing who's the best players in Destiny, and again, I would love for everybody to be able to come to contest modifier and just be able to have a good time and, you know, have a chance at actually completing the raid. Again, Deep Stone Crypt was in that perfect spot with 27,000 players being able to complete it, but with over 100,000 players being able to complete it, I don't even want to see what this raid's gonna look like once contest mode is gone. Once we actually have the normal raid, it's just gonna feel like it's an actual dungeon. It's not gonna be challenging at all, and I feel like this is gonna be a huge issue for the raiding community and for hardcore PvE players. It's just gonna feel like this raid is too easy. So again, I don't want to gatekeep anybody out of actually being able to play the raid or get into the contest mode. I just feel like it should be a little bit more challenging. I feel like Bungie could actually come in and just make these encounters either have more health on the bosses or either add more encounters to the raid. With 4 encounters, it just wasn't enough in this raid. Maybe 5, even push it to 6 encounters. If you're gonna make each of the bosses a lot easier, then make the raid a lot longer. Make the raid feel like it's a marathon more than a sprint. A lot of MMO raids, they feel like marathons. Feels like Destiny raids are going more towards a sprint, which is unfortunate because MMO raids definitely feel like you're more involved with your teams, and it definitely feels like it's more of an accomplishment when you actually complete it. Once I got done doing Root of Nightmares, every encounter, somebody always had this to say: that was extremely easy. That's something that you shouldn't be saying while you're doing a raid on contest mode for day 1. So there we have it. That's how the community's feeling about the Root of Nightmares raid. A lot of those topics were just grabbed straight off of Reddit and then I put it into my own words. So a lot of players are definitely upset with the Root of Nightmares raid, and we're just gonna have to wait to master mode to come out to see how challenging this raid's gonna be on master, because again, when normal actually drops, this raid's gonna be a walk in the park. If you haven't got your first day 1 clear yet, then I would recommend you hop into Root of Nightmares, try to get it done and get your first day 1 emblem. It's a little challenging, but with a guide and with a competent team, you should be able to complete this entire raid. But yeah guys, that's gonna do it for me in this Destiny 2 video. If you did enjoy, please be sure to let me know by smashing that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe for more. And I have been your boy T Glizzy. You guys have been my awesome viewers, and I'll see you guys in another. Peace.